Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Today is March 15th, 2022 for the regular scheduled Board of County Commission meeting. Our administrator is not here this morning, but we're going to ask if we could please rise, and Commissioner Mann is going to lead us in invocation after the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pastor Jeff D. Yo from the Covenant Presbyterian Church has been with us many times in the past. He has been struggling with some pretty serious health issues of late and could not make it this morning, but if you will join me, I will do as best I can in his behalf. Father in heaven, we ask that you would join us this morning as we begin this meeting. Give us calm, deliberative, wise hearts and minds as we struggle to do the people's will. And if we do it well, we know it will be pleasing in your sight as well. Amen.
Amen. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. We have three ceremonial presentations, but first I'll go recognize a few people now. As I see our newly appointed Clerk of Courts, Kevin Carnes, is here this morning. Kevin, thanks for being here this morning. And also, I think I saw Matt Colwell here, our property appraiser is here. Yeah, thank you. Any other constitutionals here this morning? We don't get you guys down here all the time, so it's good to see. Only budget time, but thanks for coming down this morning. Okay, we have the first ceremonial presentation. We'd like to recognize Commissioner Mann.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I could have the DAR Regent Ann Peck come forward to receive this on behalf of all the local veterans, and there are thousands of them from, get right behind that little, it wouldn't have, it's going to come out the same whether you're standing there or here, but she's going to receive this on behalf of all the local Vietnam veterans. And this honor is being offered through the Daughters of the American Revolution, and I, as a member of the Sons of the American Revolution, am proud to read this, and it reads as follows. Resolution, whereas 47 years ago, our nation ended military involvement in the Republic of South Vietnam, thus ending military involvement in what was then the longest war in our country's history, and whereas we honor the men and women who survived and the 58,260 men and women who sacrificed their lives. And whereas since the return, these veterans have contributed tremendously to their communities, their state, and their nation. As citizens of the great state of Florida, Lee County must never forget the pain and suffering that lingers today for the men and women who fought with honor and distinction in the name of freedom and democracy for all. And whereas one of every 3 Florida veterans served in Vietnam, and the Vietnam area servicemen and women make up the largest percentage of combat veterans living in Florida, and whereas it is never too late to pay tribute to the men and women of the great state of Florida who answered the call of duty with courage and valor, and whereas throughout this commemoration we should strive to live up to their example by showing our Vietnam veterans, their families, and all of the men and women who have served our country the fullest respect and support of a grateful state and nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, does hereby proclaim March 26, 2022 as Vietnam Veterans Day in commemoration of the 44th anniversary of the conclusion of the Vietnam War in the county of Lee, in the great state of this nation, duly executed this 15th day of March 22nd and signed by Cecil, our beloved chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you for sponsoring this resolution, and now you may come and receive it and have your picture took.
Thank you, Vietnam veterans.
Thank you very much.
Now just look at your happy citizens. Perfect. Regent Peck, if you'd like to say a few words, we'd love to hear from you.
I would like to thank all of you on behalf of both the Calhoosahatchee chapter of the DAR, of which I am regent, and also on behalf of all the Vietnam-era veterans whom I also represent. And we appreciate your contributing this proclamation to our overdue recognition of what they did 50 years ago on March 26th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Mann. Next, we have Commissioner Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask everyone who's here for American Red Cross Month to please join us at the podium while I read the the resolution into the record. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, it's my privilege to read this on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. Whereas the American Red Cross fulfills a unique and vital role in our community, providing help and hope in the face of emergencies and disaster, and is a true reflection of the humanitarian and volunteer spirit of the American people. And whereas for nearly 80 years, United States presidents have called upon people to support the American Red Cross and its humanitarian mission. President Franklin D. Roosevelt was the first to proclaim March as Red Cross Month in 1943, and since that time, every president has issued proclamations designating March as Red Cross Month. And whereas the American Red Cross has been helping people in Lee County for 105 years, responding to disasters and assisting members of the military, teaching life-saving skills and providing comfort and support. And whereas this past year, Red Cross volunteers helped people in our community affected by home fires by addressing their urgent needs like food, lodging, and providing recovery support. And whereas the Red Cross provides support for veterans and their families to access critical services. And whereas we applaud the mission of the American Red Cross to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies, and our community depends on the American Red Cross, which relies on volunteers and the generosity of the public to perform its mission. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida, does hereby proclaim the month of March as American Red Cross Month in Lee County, and we encourage all citizens to support the work and service of relief organizations that help support our community. It's duly executed this 15th day of March 2022 by our Honorable Chairman, Commissioner Pendergrass. Well, happy Red Cross Month. Please come take a photo with us. Thank you guys so much. So glad.
We got to put our masks on when we take pictures. That's Red Cross mandate.
Is it a Red Cross
You
policy?
don't get in trouble.
Well, no worries, no worries.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for coming down. Good morning.
Thank you. And thank you. Oops. I fought for that.
There you go. Thank you. And please feel free to say a few words from the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm Jill Palmer. I'm the Executive Director for the American Red Cross Local Chapter, serving Lee, Collier, Hendry, Glades, and Highlands counties. Myself, along with Dennis Sanders, my community volunteer leader, we thank you for recognizing March as Red Cross Month. Here in our community, we have over 390 volunteers that bring comfort and hope to those who have been impacted by a disaster. Across the communities, when a disaster strikes, the communities rally and come together to be able to provide that support. And we saw that most recently in January following the devastating tornadoes, which you have the picture, one of the pictures up on your screen that impacted our community. We had over 40 volunteers and team members that helped shelter, feed, bring emergency supplies. We had disaster health services, mental health services, spiritual services out in the community, and also providing financial assistance to those who had lost their homes. This month, we invite you to turn that compassion into action, become a volunteer, to donate, and also to take a life-saving class. Thank you. And Dennis, I think, has a few words too.
Just a few words. I want to thank everyone for allowing us to be here today. As the community volunteer leader for the Southwest Florida here, I'm the guy who connects the dots. So if you have any questions when it comes to the community, never hesitate to reach out to me. And or when it comes to the gallery here, and also you commissioners, if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to give up your time just go to www.redcross.org. And hey, you'll be surprised what you can do with that spare time that you may have. In addition, if I can say this, I am a United States Air Force Vietnam veteran, okay? So I just want to give an applause to what I saw today. I'm also active. I'm the president of Marco Naples Reserve Officers Association of the United States and Florida. So once again, I just want to, it's a pleasure serving the country, and it's a pleasure serving the Red Cross. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. You know, Mr. Chairman, before they go, too, just want to say thanks again for your partnership. You know, we have a battle-tested, seasoned emergency operations team here in Lee County, and you all are part of that team. We thank you for being there with us all along the way, no matter what we see here in Lee County. So thank you very much.
They were there 2 months ago with the tornadoes, so thank you for being there that day on that Sunday. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Have a good morning.
Thank you. And back to veterans, we're going to have our own Commissioner Sandeli be next now.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'd like to invite up Chief Tipton, Chief Cohn, and Chief Diaz. If you come up forward, please. I think we had one more, but I think he couldn't make it. And by the way, I was down at Fort Myers Beach Saturday morning and ran into a bunch of the Coast Guard folks down there. And I'm a Navy veteran, and I can tell you, whether it's the Navy, the Coast Guard, or everybody else, the chiefs run the operation. I've always been very respectful for that. So with that, Board of County Commissioners resolution, whereas time has not altered the duties and responsibilities of our armed forces personnel since the very foundation of our country was laid in 1776. We all recognize their great sacrifice and significant contributions made to our nation by soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and the Coast Guard. Whereas for more than 200 years, the men and women who have so proudly served and are currently serving as non-commissioned officers, chiefs, petty officers, have been regarded as the backbone of the armed forces of the United States. Whereas the spirit and devotion to duty of a chief is evident in the long list of recipients of the Medal of Honor and other decorations of personal valor, these non-coms are the heart of our armed forces, which sustain our freedom and way of life. Whereas the duties they perform in accomplishing their mission are a necessary and permanent part of this country's defense mechanism, and upon their shoulders lies the defense of our great nation. Therefore, it be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County proclaims March 25th as Lee County Chiefs Day, honoring non-commissioned officers and petty officers who serve and have served our nation's defense's objectives, and to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities, duly executed this 15th day of March 2022 by our Honorable Chairman, Cecil Pendergrass. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Always ask the chief.
Thanks for coming down, guys.
We'll take a picture and then chief.
Thank you, guys.
Maybe let's hold this in the middle there.
Yeah, and then we'd ask whoever would like to say a few words when we're done.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity and dedicating the 25th of March as Coast Guard Chiefs Proclamation Day. You said it, go ask the chief. They are the foundations of the Coast Guard, the Navy. E7 is a great rank, and most enlisted people try to achieve that rank before they retire. But on behalf of all the chiefs and the chiefs under my charge at Station Fort Myers Beach, we thank you very much. And Chief Tipton is going to talk to you about some community service that we do.
So as part of the Chief Association of Suncoast Chiefs Mess, some of the local volunteer work that we do is we donate food to the Gladiolus Food Bank. We help out with Habitat for Humanity, and we also volunteer with Keep Lee County Beautiful to clean up the beaches. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Great, thanks again, guys. And I'd also like to recognize in the audience, we have Steph Newrock here from Career Source. Will you please stand, Steph? and also Troy Bolivar from the FGCU Veteran and Military Success Director. They're here shadowing myself today and the board, so thanks for coming this morning to attend our meeting. Next, we'll go into the recap. We have no items to be deferred or corrections. Time we'll go to the consent agenda items. Items be pulled by discussion by the board. Commissioner Mann, any items?
None.
Commissioner Hammond?
I have none.
Commissioner Sindelli?
None.
I have none. Okay. Motion to approve the balance of the items.
So moved.
Okay, we'll have for public comment on the on the consent agenda. We have one card, Larry Gillis.
Hey, Larry.
Number 17.
Thank you. I'm Larry Gillis, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of Lee County. And I'd like to address Article number 17, which deals with $1 million worth of found money, if you will, that now is proposed to be added to the sheriff's budget. There are several things wrong with this particular proposal. Most specifically, or most generally, the forfeiture process itself is something that you, as a Board of Commissioners, cannot address. That's a function of Florida law. And that'll be addressed in Tallahassee. What you do have here is $1 million on the table with the question of, the delicious question of, what do we do with it? I will note that that $1 million is a post-budget item. I will say about the forfeiture process that it sets up an unholy dynamic, a hunter's dynamic, that says you bag it, you may get to eat it. And, but let's deal with the $1 million that's on the table here. This is found money, as I've described it. The question is what to do with it. I have every confidence that you're not going to give it back. I will note that there is no supplemental budget request before you from the sheriff's office. This is essentially a non-budget item. If there were a supplemental budget request, you'd go through your normal processes in deciding what to do with this money. Basically, you're being invited to take a non-budgetary approach to $1 million, which today is probably not a lot of money, but it's there. I note in the proposal here that it's $750,000 for the sheriff's office with rather broadly defined purposes for that. Nonprofits are going to get $250,000 out of it. These are nonprofits doing non-governmental work, and my question to you is, with this government money, with this so-called government money, why are we subsidizing nonprofits who presumably are doing non-governmental work? In large, one big question is, this is a form of mission creep by government. If you look at some of the nonprofits and what they're doing, they're educational. We're dealing with police officers, not teachers. Police officers, let them be cops. My suggestion to you is that you put it back into the general fund, not just simply give it to the sheriff's office, but put it in the general fund, and then let Tallahassee address the underlying question of the essential fairness or unfairness of the forfeiture process. And thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Any other public comment on the consent agenda at this time? Please come forward. Thank you.
Morning, gentlemen. I don't know the consent agenda from the other agenda, so I figured I'd jump in while I had a chance. Ray, good to see you, man. I'm Todd Truax. I live in Bonita Springs. It says that on the card. I have an envelope for the Leeway Service Center. It's a budget item. So he talked about budget, so I figured I can talk about budget.
Todd, do you have a certain item? We're only voting on
Yes.
the consent. So the public comment this time is on the consent agenda. So it's a leeway bill is what you're referring to?
Maybe. I got
I mean, that's probably not on
We're
the,
cutting into my time, so can I be quick?
if it's on
I'm
the
trying to be
agenda,
quick.
yes. If it's on the agenda, you can. If not,
All right,
it would be asked.
the budget thing. I got the check written for the Board of County Commissioners. They're the board. It's a $2 toll, but all of a sudden, there's a $3 fee for the $2 toll. It's like buying from Ticketmaster my, Justin Bieber tickets, and you're charging me twice what the ticket costs. It's a taxation without representation. And there's another toll because I crossed the same bridge to go to Cape Coral to the Pride Parade. So and then I got to pay for the stamp every time too. So no, I don't have a transponder. I don't want a transponder. Can we fix that? Is that part of the consent agenda? Your budget? And you're taking more money from me than the $2 I normally pay?
That item is not on the consent agenda.
All right, I got more. I still have a minute and 38 seconds. There's resolution 22-197. Is that part of the consent agenda? You can't say. All right. I call it the earmuff resolution. It's you won't take public comment if it's not on the agenda. I don't care for that. I believe elected officials should be accountable to the public that elected them. And so I don't support resolution 22-197R. You guys understand that?
So Todd, we have public comment on the end of the agenda for public comment on any item, like your bill or outstanding bills.
I didn't know
or
which
anything like
agenda you were talking. I
that.
didn't want to miss my
There's
chance.
there's a public agenda here, so.
I'm in yellow. Then I'll wait if there's another chance. And I'll reserve my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, okay, we'll come back to the board. We have a motion, we have a second.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask a quick question to our county attorney. Attorney West, could you talk about the statute? I know that it's set out in state statute how to handle that forfeiture money. Can you just comment on that real quick about the sheriff's request?
Board members, the item deals with forfeiture proceedings as provided under Florida law, specifically Chapter 932.704. That is a statutory provision that allows law enforcement agencies to conduct civil forfeiture proceedings to acquire those properties that are used in furtherance of certain criminal activities. It's set forth by statute as to process and procedure. It is also set forth in statute as to expenditures. It is a restricted revenue fund. It would not be available to pour over into the board's general revenue fund. It is specifically for enhancement of sheriff's operations. And the specific uses are spelled out in statute. It is not a general revenue fund.
Okay, so specific uses are spelled out in state statute. We're not allowed to just put it in the general fund or use it for that. Okay, thanks. That's something I wanted to clear up and make sure folks know that we're trying to do it by, the way it's laid out and prescribed in state statute.
Always.
And then just real quickly, for anybody who was watching and just curious about the public comment portion of our agenda. So we actually have 3 different opportunities for public comment on our agenda. You can give public comment on the consent agenda, which are the items on this agenda 1 through 28. We also have, when we get to the administrative agenda, we take each item one at a time and we allow for public comment on each one of those items. And then at the end of the agenda, you'll see something called public presentation of matters by citizens. And that's when any citizen can come and talk for 3 minutes about anything that's on their mind, whether it's on the agenda or not. So thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Attorney Wesh, in your opinion, based on what was on the consent agenda for the sheriff's expenditure, is there anything that they're utilizing it inappropriate in your opinion?
Mr. Chairman? No, sir. We reviewed this item, and our office actually signs off on the matter before it gets to your agenda. So we have reviewed it previously for legal sufficiency and support the item as well as the sheriff's request.
And I know we've covered this in previous items and other agendas, so I appreciate it. I just wanted for the record to make sure the record was accurate.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion on the consent, the balance? Any objections to the motions? No objection, motion carries. Thank you. Administrative agenda, number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Administrative agenda item number 1, we are requesting you approve a contribution to Affordable Housing Trust Fund and authorize a loan to construct affordable housing. Mr. Loveland, will you please present the item?
Good morning, Commissioners. David Loveland, Community Development. I want to start this item introduction by recognizing first the hard work of Jeannie Sutton from the Human and Veteran Services Department and Mickey Rozdowski, our DCD Planning Manager, for all the work they've done to take this kind of complicated scenario and make it make sense and bring something forward that we think will help the situation. As many of you know, one of the tools that the county has to address affordable housing needs is something we call our bonus density program, where developers can get some additional density by either building units on site and keeping them affordable for a period of time, 7 years, or providing funding into our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We have a project called Estero Oaks that constructed 63 bonus density units, and it was targeted toward households making between 120% to 140% of the average median income, which is a workforce housing level. And they've been built. They've had some difficulty in ensuring that all those 63 units are leased to people that meet the income qualifications. So now they want to go back and utilize the fee in lieu option and pay the $20,000 per unit into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That would result in a $1.26 million payment that would go into the trust fund. We currently have about $1.5 million in the trust fund now, which the board had previously authorized another tool to utilize that those funds to match some tax credit applications for affordable housing projects. What we're suggesting then, in order to take advantage of that new funding coming into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, there is a new project in Cape Coral that's proposed to build 96 affordable housing units that would be focused on a less than 80% of the average median income. So it's actually targeted at a lower income level. And it's about a $30 million project. There are multiple revenue sources that are being applied to that project. They find themselves about a $1.5 million short. So we're suggesting that this $1.26 million payment coming from Estero Oaks be utilized along with some supplemental funds out of the existing trust fund dollars to help leverage that $30 million project and achieve that project, which is going to benefit a large population.
Thank you. Any questions for Dave?
It'd be my honor to move the item.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Any public comment on this item? Please come forward. It's regarding item number 1, Todd.
Whatever he said, that one.
Okay.
That's not a number, I don't know. I couldn't get a printed copy. I have just the phone. Again, my name's Todd Truax. This is about affordable housing units, right? And so we're talking about taking 63 affordable housing units from Estero and transferring them, the money and to 96 units in Coral, as I understand. So that means accepting a buyout and diverting the funds from Estero to Cape Coral for affordable housing units. My question is, why can't we do both? We've got $150 million from the Build Back Better that we have to spend before 2024 and allocate for. It's $1.5 million and $1.5 million. We need affordable housing units. A house in my neighborhood went for $800,000, and it was $400,000 2 years ago. We need affordable housing units both in Estero and Cape Coral, and that only took a minute. Thanks.
Morning, Marcus.
Morning. Chairman Pendergrass, County Commissioners, good seeing you again. County Attorney, County Manager, County Attorney, thank you for the opportunity to come this morning before you to speak on this agenda item. I would also like to add my acknowledgments and thank yous to the county staff, but I would also like to include Assistant County Manager Mora and Roger Mercado for working with us on this project. This is a part of a Lee County Housing Authority project. So we appreciate the $1.5 million, as Mr. Loveland mentioned. We're going to build a $30 million project in Cape Coral, and for $1.5 million, you will help us do that. While I have a moment at the mic, I would also like to ask that we consider ARP funding for affordable housing. Some of other cities and counties in the state of Florida have committed substantial ARP funding to affordable housing. The city of St. Petersburg committed 76% of their total amount of ARP funding to housing. Broward County, $39 million. Sarasota, $25 million. St. Johns County, 10. Polk County, $5 million, just to name a few. I know we received about $150 million in Lee County, and I know there's some infrastructure projects that have been earmarked, but the last time I looked at the budget, Commissioners, there were about $42 million that was unbudgeted. I would say if we could commit somewhere in the range of $20–25 million for affordable housing, imagine what we could do. With $1.5 million, we're going to build 96 units. When you look around this community, you see a lot of apartments being built. They're not affordable. The City Walk project, it's a gorgeous project. The project behind it, a gorgeous project. With rents north of $2,000, you got some county staff that can't afford to live there. So if we take this opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, commissioners, I believe, I've never seen this kind of money from the federal government, and I know we have time constraints, staff, that we have to meet, but we think we can do that. You've seen what we've done in the past. I'm not new to this podium. I'm not new to affordable housing. I know we can make a difference in this community if we can budget some of that 42 or 43 million that is unbudgeted to affordable housing. We can make a huge impact in this community. So I ask that you consider that, or a number close to that. I think if Broward can do 39, we can do something close to that. At least I would hope we could. So thank you for the 1.5 million this morning. We're going to build that project in Cape Coral and other projects if we can get some additional funding. Any questions you may have, I'm happy to answer. But we do a good job here in this county. We just need some money to help leverage other funding.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other public comment on administrative item 1? Please come forward.
I agree with what he just said. There's a lot of people working, making good money that can't afford to pay the rents that they're asking for next to, stuff that was a few $100, $500–600 is now over $1,200. My thing is, the money is out there. We need the emergency. I mean, I see Habitat's building quite a few places, but where are people going to stay until then that's affordable? Salvation Army, as I said years ago, used to have it so much a night, and then no place to stay. We need a place that we designated for the emergency housing until this stuff is built. I've been asking for that a long time. It's got to be free. And the thing is, the Holiday Inn was for sale. Well, why don't you give it to all the nonprofits? Let them bring in revenue to support their missions and kick it into building more housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment, item 1? We'll come back to the board. Commissioner Wayne?
I appreciate both comments, and I appreciate, Mark, the job that you've done in affordable housing. I certainly had a meeting yesterday I wanted to share with the commissioners. I'm going to reach out to all 6 mayors within Lee County. I think it's a situation we have in Lee County. I believe that all need to step up and participate in this. I came from Sanibel. We had affordable housing. As someone that was in affordable housing, I can tell you it's a great opportunity to hand up to people and give people a hand up as they need to get stabilized. So I'm going to consistently work with the other mayors to see exactly how they can do it. We're doing our share here in Lee County. We need to continue to address this issue. It's one that I can certainly relate to personally, and just want to let you all know, when I met with staff yesterday, I've been in contact with some of the mayors already.
Thank you. Any other discussions? Okay. Commissioner Wayne, Sinelli?
The challenges are many, as we all know. And I think we're working through a variety of different efforts to do that. What concerns me is that the need is outpacing certainly the supply and your ability to deliver workforce housing, whatever term you want to use at that time. So I've talked to people that build it or are trying to build it, and it's actually very concerning, I think, as we all know. But I think I want to thank the team for the work they've done on this, and the ability to be flexible on how we look at density, the ability how we look at zoning and stuff, to me, will be one of the things that will lead us out of this in part. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just wanted to say, first of all, very supportive of this project and this concept here to go ahead and get the units. We're leveraging, $1.5 million to get $30 million in investment in Cape Coral. That'll give us 96 affordable housing units. So this is a good project here. I'm very happy about that. I think, very supportive and very interested in having the conversation about what we can do with the American Rescue Plan funds in order to help with affordable housing. One of the things that I hope we'll consider too as we look at affordable housing is down payment assistance. Commissioners, I recently have learned that our current down payment assistance program has some rules on it that cap out the maximum purchase price of a house at somewhere like less than $250,000. Well, it's getting really hard to find a home for less than $250,000 around here now. So you might have a down payment assistance program that would be useless. So I'd like to find out if there are ways that we could use the American Rescue Plan funds to create a down payment assistance program to help people actually be able to purchase a home. One of the best things I think that can happen to people is for them to be able to purchase a home, build equity in that home, and then maybe be able to resell it for a higher price down the road. It's one of the ways that I think you could even help build generational wealth for people and get them out of the cycle that maybe they've been in for a long time. When you think about what a mortgage payment is in this market, every mortgage payment you make right now, as your house continues to go up in value, you'll get back when you sell that house for more than what you paid for it. And so if we could look at a combo of both affordable housing and maybe some down payment assistance in the future too, I'd be supportive of that.
Great, thank you. Commissioner.
Follow up, you know, again, I'm on the same page as you, Commissioner Hammond. You know, the other program that we had on Santa was limited equity. So two parts of building. One is the land, and then the city actually gave the land for 99 years. So that just defers the cost, or at least reduces the cost substantially. You just have to build a building. So it's a program that's out there. It's a program we utilized. It's a program that I certainly have thought in two parts. One, affordable housing, and then limited equity housing, because you do cap out in one program. You know, and we designed it in Santa Barbara, so the police officer that goes up to sergeant, he no longer could be in affordable housing because his income's too high. So there's the next step to go to limited equity housing. So it's out there. There's a lot of land. As we both know, we represent Cape Coral. In Cape Coral, I've had some pretty good discussions with the mayor of Cape Coral about those types of opportunities. So we'll have more conversations about this, but it's something that I agree with everything you said.
Roger, do you want to say?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, we're going to cover some of this in two items from now, two administrative items from now, number 3. But the ARPA plan, the recommendations that we've made you that you have approved so far include $5 million towards affordable housing, and I would like to ask Mr. Salyer to describe that $5 million program very quickly.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the $5 million that you've allocated from the direct component of American Rescue Plan Act is in addition to the tens of millions that you've dedicated in other ARPA funding streams. So I think we'd like to take a chance to put that together for you in a more holistic fashion, bring that back to you so that you can see the full breadth of the housing assistance that's been provided thus far. It's pretty big.
That would be a great tool, and I think the public needs to see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Sandelli.
Just two things. In the conversations with staff, I think we have 19,000 people in Lee County that are spending more than 50%, you know, of their income just to help house themselves, and that's a big number. The second thing is, with inflation now, I agree, the ability to buy and build equity helps stabilize a budget, whatever your budget is, as opposed to rent that can change, you know, every 6 months or a year. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Any objections? No objection, motion carries. Thank you. Number 2.
Has passed away and left the sum of $522,739 to the county to be designated for use by animal services for the care and comfort. It is specifically enunciated as an enhancement to existing funding and not a replacement. So with your board's concurrence, we would respectfully request approval so that we can notify the personal representative to forward the check.
That's definitely a wonderful gift from Claudia, so we thank her. Is there any family here this morning from Claudia, by chance?
No, sir.
Making sure. Any public comment on item number 2? Okay, we come back to the board for a motion.
Approval.
Second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussions? I'd just like to thank her family and Claudia for her care. Obviously, she was obviously a fan of the animal services here in Lee County, so hopefully the money get put to good use through their fund. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any objections? Objection, motion carries. Number 3.
Oh, we good?
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, item number 3, we are asking you to approve your strategic planning document that we created based on the day of strategic planning on February 11th, where you all met with us and our facilitator for a full day to discuss the future of Lee County. In a workshop setting, as we all know, you cannot give positive direction, so we bring this back to you today to codify the instructions that you had given us. So it starts with continue to work on a multi-year strategic plan, which is a group of projects that you have approved in the past, but we will report on those periodically, and they include transportation, flood mitigation, water quality, parks and recreation, procurement, tourism, economic development, redevelopment, financial stability, and communications. Beyond that, you have instructed us also to complete the county-wide wastewater management plan for submission to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. We'll identify and submit 2023 legislative session septic to sewer grant funding opportunities. You asked us to analyze the feasibility impacts of the county purchasing the FGUA assets. You also asked us to submit recommendations for spending the American Rescue Plan, which we mentioned just a minute ago, American Rescue Act funds that continue to focus on human services, affordable housing, workforce training, and infrastructure. Affordable housing being one of the most important components of that particular item. Besides $5 million, we are working internally to see if we can't put together a program that we can recommend you that will leverage many more dollars than the $5 million. And we hope to show you that sometime in the next month or so. You asked us to develop options for the Civic Center complex after an engineering study is completed, and I think we're on the street for that study now. Chris, is that right? Or have we already hired?
Sorry. Yes, we've already hired an engineer off of our contract, and they're already starting work.
Thank you. Continue working on access to the Conservation 2020 properties, including GS10, and that is the more public access and amenities so that the general public can use all of that 2020 property. And then continue public education using social media platforms, including information about county's comprehensive plan, and other, some of the other programs within Lee County. Commissioners, if you have questions, we're happy to respond today, but otherwise we would ask that you approve those, all of those items.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board at this time? Okay, we'll come to public comment. Any public comment on item number 3? Being none, we'll come back to the board for a motion.
I'll move the item.
Second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 4, we are asking you to approve the American Rescue Plan Recovery and Resilience Program subrecipient agreements. Would ask Mr. Salyer to present the item, please.
Thank you. Commissioners, this is another in a continuing series of subrecipient agreements that we bring for your approval. You've seen a lot of these, and we have many more to come to implement the investments that you've already approved through the American Rescue Plan Act. Today's subrecipients fall in 3 buckets. One is workforce training and occupational certifications, and you can see that FGCU, FSW, and Hodges will be offering rapid and micro-credentialing programs in many different occupations that are germane to our employers who are finding it difficult these days to staff up to their full extent, so that should be helpful. Supportive services for homelessness, that continues many of the programs that you've been funding that have been underway, providing everything from behavioral health treatment to rent assistance and life and job skills so that people can become more independent as they go through that process. And then finally, support for child care providers. We would be working with the Early Learning Coalition to work with individual providers to increase their capacity so that they can actually take more people off the waiting list, get their young children into school readiness child care programs, so get them prepared to actually go to school. We'll try to answer any questions you have, but that would be a total investment of $6.25 million.
Great. Any questions for staff at this time? Okay. Any public comment on this item, number 4? Please come forward. Please come forward.
Me again. In my retirement, I joined the board of the Premier International College. It's a nursing school that the old school board building. Cynthia Rue is runs it. She used to work for me when I ran the nursing home next to Lee Memorial. Don't forget small local schools that can help students get their, not only their GEDs, but nursing licenses, CNAs, the healthcare folks, those certifications. Hodges, FGCU, FSW, those are all great, but don't forget the little schools and help support them next time around when you're passing out dough. Thanks. That's my plug.
Any other public comment? Item number 4. Be known, come back to the board for a motion.
I'll move approval, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 5, we're asking you to approve an amendment to the North Lee County Water Treatment Plant Expansion Program. Ms. Keys, will you please present the item?
Morning, Pam.
Hey, good morning. This item is to amend our existing design-build contract for our North Lee County Water Treatment Plant expansion. The expansion should cover us through the planning period of 2040. It's for an amount of $47.7 million, and we'd like to start construction this month with operations in 2024.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board at this time for staff? Bina, any public comment? Item number 5. Come back to the board for a motion and a second.
I'll move approval.
I'll second
We
that.
have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion?
Just one last comment. I think when we talk about housing, we talk about workforce and training, and we talk about utilities. Everything's connected. Everything. So I think as we focus on individual priorities, I think equally as important is how all this stuff works together to deliver the services personally and professionally. So thank you for the work that's been done.
Thank you. Any objections to motion and second? No objection, motion carries. Thank you. Next, public hearing, item number 1. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Halverson, County Attorney's Office. I have your one public hearing this morning. This item has been duly advertised, and I provided the affidavit of publication to the clerk. Item number 1 is petition to vacate the public's interest in an unimproved public utility easement centered along the common property lot line between lots 6 and 7 of the platted lots at 3309 36th Street Southwest in Lehigh Acres. There were no objections to this proposed vacation, and we're available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff? Any public comment on this item? We have a motion by Commissioner Mann. We have a second, Commissioner Hammond. Any objections? No objection, motion carries. Thank you. We have no walk-on items and commissioner items. Commissioner Mann, do you have any items? Nope. Commissioner Hammond?
I have none.
I have 2 real quick. I just want to thank Parks and Rec staff. This weekend I was able to attend the volunteer appreciation breakfast this weekend at the Lakes Park. We have hundreds of volunteers throughout Lee County, and I was like, thank Jess and his staff. They did had a great time starting morning with the volunteers, but thank them for the thousands of hours. We have people here in Lee County, the residents put it forward. They work full-time basically for us for free. So I'd like to thank all the volunteers and all our Parks and Rec staff for their commitment to that and what they bring to Lee County. Also, we have everybody should have got a letter. I got about 10 minutes before the meeting this morning. Governor DeSantis, we're hoping that will support our efforts, and he's asking for a letter of support from our board for includes the funding for over $13 million for the new EOC Center, and just basically get consensus for my signature on this letter that you've been provided this morning to support the funding for that.
Absolutely.
County Attorney, do we need a vote on that, or just a consensus for the vote, please? Okay, thank you.
Moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any public comment on a letter of support from the board for the funding for the Emergency Operations Center? Yes or no, Todd? Would you like to speak on this? Or? Yes, I would. Please come forward. It's about a letter being prepared to the governor. That's what the comment is. Is that going to cost us money? Would you like the motion is for us to instruct a letter. I wasn't sure if you're
spending money, or if you're just saying we support your idea?
The motion is for us to send a letter to the governor in support of the budget item for $13 million for.
His money or ours? Was the question.
Sir, it's up to you if you'd like to speak or not.
Yes, I would like to speak.
Okay.
And I would like to know if you're going to spend our money to build another EOC, because we already got one, and it works great. I don't know if we need another one, but I like the one we have. That's all.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to the board. We have a motion. We have a second. Any objections to the letter? No objection. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Stelly, would you have any comments this morning? Any items?
No.
Okay, great. Commissioner Ryan?
I have a brief one. Had the privilege of working with staff, open house, to talk about the Sanibel Causeway Islands. Staff did a great job, and about 50 or 60 people that showed up, very engaged in the conversations, mostly all to do with windsurfing and that nature, and specifically, we tried to listen to their suggestions. I certainly made sure they were aware that there's many purposes for those islands, and we'll do the best we can.
Great. Thank you for staff working on this. A great project. Okay, Commissioner appointments. Commissioner Mann, do you have an appointment this morning?
Today.
Commissioner Hammond? Commissioner Sindelli?
Not today.
Commissioner Wayne?
None.
Oh, I have one, so we'll break the cycle here. I have a new appointment of Councilman Jim Alterholt of Town Farmers Beach to the TDC.
So moved.
I need a motion. I need a second.
Second it.
We have a motion, a second, by Sindelli.
Ray.
Any public comment on that? Come back to the board. Any objection? No objection. Motion carries. Thank you. County manager items. Roger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you'll indulge us for just a couple of minutes this morning, please. As you'll recall, on February 11th, during your day of strategic planning, we gave you a very brief preview of some new web tools that we are rolling out to the public. I think that you'll find them to be something that you've wanted for a long time, something we've wanted for a long time. I'd like to thank Chris Brady and her staff, who actually put these 4 tools together. It allows the general public and people who work in the system to very easily capture a great deal of data about almost everything we do. So I'm going to ask Chris to go through them with you this morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm pleased this morning to announce the launch of 4 community engagement tools on our website for citizens' use. As discussed earlier, one of the board's priorities in communications is communications, and these tools represent the ability for citizens to engage in a manner that provides them current information about Lee County and the board's priorities. Just like the county is our water story, these tools will be living tools and will be updated and added to with new information. Today, we revamped our homepage with the resident information tool prominently at the top, which is right here. And we've also added an icon on our homepage that will bring you to our community engagement tool page, where we have our resident information tool, our Explore Lee, our year in review, and our capital improvement projects. I'd like to take one moment to show you actually the resident information tool. Okay. So citizens will be able to put in their address or another address of their choice. We'll use the County Administration Building. We'll do a quick search. We'll find Fort Myers. And then all of this information will pop up for that citizen. It'll give you the address, the parcel, the municipality that that address resides in, where their utilities, public safety, their political governments, community, property, and permitting. All of these links in blue are hyperlinks and will bring you over to the page within the municipality that has information on what you are clicking on. So it is an interactive tool. It will continue to be built out based on citizen feedback. There will be information that gets added to it. And like I said, it provides a wealth of information for our residents and also for our visitors. So I'll click back. And our Explore Lee is a primer, a basic information tool for who Lee County is and the type of work that our departments do. So it's a brief introduction. You can click on each one of these icons and it will give you information as to who the director is, assistant county manager, the number of employees, operating budget, and the budget sources. There's also additional information that tells you about what this department does, and that's been created for each of our departments. Our capital improvement project will show you where all of our capital improvement projects are happening in brief information. You can toggle onto different layers. So if you wanted to just look at library projects, there's all the library projects that we have right now.
Chris, I'm sorry. Can you go back? You just had a road project up there I just saw.
Sure.
This would be great for residents. They're always wondering what's going on within our community. We get that question daily as far as the transportation. And I saw, for example, so the 3 Oak Extension project, you just click on that, shows the project. Does it also show a map of the project of completion?
At this time right now,
It just shows the cost and the fund.
it shows you the start date and the planned end date. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I just wonder if it shows a map of the, for example, Alico Road or anything, if it's Burnt Store Road, what the road layout is. It just shows where the project's going to be at, though. It's been a great asset for the community and for even other agencies to be able to go to this. So you see where the start is going north, and it's going to be, it doesn't show the actual, but it does show the starting location.
Project website, if that'd take you to that rendering that you're looking for.
Yeah, so you go straight to the website, and that will show the future expansion. So that's a great asset and tool. Anything just, for example, like we changed, there it shows the new road there. That's going to be a great asset. Then also kind of like when we changed last year with the transponders, obviously some people didn't get the notice that we went to electronic tolling. So if you do that, we could have got a free transponder. So this would be a great asset for us to get that messaging back out in the community, though.
Some of these.
Commissioner, on that, on the capital improvement site, all of that data will be adjusted in real time as the projects progress.
And I'm sure our water story's on there too, along with everything else.
Yes, sir. So, and this is the strategic plan. This is your year in review. And this has a lot of information. We showed this to you before your strategic planning. Gives you opportunities to delve down into, even into previous workshops and blue sheet information. Sorry, I'm going through this a little quickly. So you can go through each of your board goals. Oops. So it goes through each of your different chapters. The most important thing is the direction that you gave about planning for a 1 million population. So all this information is here. There's a lot of places you can go. There's a lot of diving into hyperlinks that will give you additional information. We feel like this is going to provide a lot of useful information for our citizens. So again, appreciate you giving me the opportunity to go through these tools with you. You can sign up for our newsletters. We have our Causeway Island conceptual plan, and we will add our water story to this page as well. So I remain available if you have any questions, but I would like to take a moment to thank everybody who's worked on this. This is a lot of information coming from a lot of different departments, and then working with the community engagement team to put all of this together. Pretty excited about the possibilities of this, and want to say thank you.
Thank you to you, and I know Sam worked on it, and many other staff members. I think it's going to be a great asset even for our own staff here in Lee County. The other departments can go to this and get information to what's going on in the county. So, any comments from the board? Mr. Sindelli?
A couple things. Communications solves a lot of problems. So thank you to you and the team that put this together. I think I saw it on one of the screens there. On each of the screens, those segments, is there a point of contact so we can get people from the volume of information to a point of contact if they have a question?
On many of these tools, we do have that, but we'll go through and make sure that we have point of contacts on all of these different.
Well, I want to make sure that for instance, my office, that we're using the same one, so we're not getting various names thrown in there. So continuity of communication, I think, would help as well.
Sure.
So part of that is us doing our own homework. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Roger, anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just want to, again, thank Chris and everyone who worked on this. I'm not so sure I've seen a government website with, that provides this much information so easily. So we're really proud of it, and it'll continue to develop and expand over time.
This is total transparency, so it's great we can get that information out there and public can have access to all the great things we're doing here in Lee County. So thank you again. County Attorney, would you like to add anything today?
Mr. Chairman, real briefly, if I may just announce that in consultation with administrative staff, we no longer need the state of local emergency for the county's response to the January tornadoes, so we will not be seeking a renewal of that state of local emergency.
Great,
thank you, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we'll come to go to public comment again at the end of the meeting here. Any public comment at this time? We have some cards. We have Alan Bills. Please come forward. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. Yes, this is in reference, my name's Alan Bills, Alan Bills Marine. This is in reference to Bill 735, House Bill 735 that passed back in July of 2021. In August of 2021, I was told by Hendry County that as of June 30th, 2023, my license after 30 years in business would no longer be reissued due to this Bill 735. Shortly after I called Lee County, wanting to know what their stance was on this. It was a state bill that was passed. So it's all specialty licenses that is being affected by this. And there's tens of thousands of licenses throughout the state of Florida that are being affected. I've been in business again for 30 years, over 30 years. I took my block test, which was a 10-hour test, over 30 years ago, and of course passed. I've worked in Lee County and Hendry County for the past 30 years. When I called up Lee County to see what their standing was, shortly after I found out from Hendry County, they said that they're operating as normal. And I asked them what they were going to do with licensing in 2023. And they said, all we can tell you right now is we're operating as normal. December 6th of 2022, I was notified by Lee County saying that my license would no longer be renewable after September 30th of 2022. So from right now, that gives me about 6 months to either get state certified with another 10-hour test, for what reason I don't quite understand, or I'm out of business. I also have another friend that just built a building in Lee County. Took him 2.5 years to get permits and build a building. He has 54 employees. He has 12 trucks on the road. Also going to be affected. He is not going to take the test to be state certified. We don't have any reason to work any other place but Lee and Hendry County. And he's thinking about shutting his business down. That's 54 employees out of work.
Mr. Bills, you're 3 minutes up, but I want to make sure before you leave here, we're going to get one of the county managers, maybe Mark Moore, who's a community developer, can discuss this with you after the meeting or in a minute. Obviously, we have no control of the state bills, but I'm aware of it now, but we'll get staff to talk to you, see what we can do to help you.
Oh, okay, now who am I waiting for, sir?
We'll have Mark Moore, who's one of the county managers, speak to you in a few minutes after the meeting. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hang out for a few minutes.
Back here, wait for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, William Joe Schottmiller.
As he's coming up, Mr. Chairman, may I just comment? I ran into Mr. Bills at a barber shop last month, and he explained to me what he's just explained to all of us here. Our own staff has been working on this for some time. This is where your Florida legislature has offered to help us, and so that we don't have to go through the onerous task of issuing him a new permit annually, which he just renews with, I don't know, $100, whatever it costs to renew it. We've been getting along fine. I knew of no complaints, but they have preempted the counties, the legislature, and have helped us to do a job that we didn't ask for any help on. I was trying to figure out why we haven't been able to grandfather folks like Mr. Bills, who has worked here for 30-plus years. The legislature didn't see fit to do that, but we're still doing internally whatever we can to stretch your license ability as far as we can, but we're very much aware of it, and I know you're aware that we're working on this behind the scenes, but this is one of these increasingly larger number of opportunities the legislature has taken to assist us where we didn't ask for any help at all. And frankly, legislative friends, I resent it.
Willie Joe, stay here 1 second. County Attorney, you wanted to make a comment about our concerns?
Mr. Chairman, board members, if you'd like, just by way of brief explanation, what's been said here this morning with regard to this bill is largely correct. This is clearly an example of the law of unintended consequences. The state legislature decided to preempt the ability of local governments to issue specialty contractor licenses and has restricted that in scope to a limited number of licenses. We are in the process of bringing forward to this board for consideration the extension of local licensing until June 30th of 2023, which is the maximum allowable under the statute. After that, the county's ability to issue licenses would be in mere duplication of the state licensing scheme, and therefore at this time, I don't believe we'll be in a position to recommend the county stay in the licensing business because it would be for the same types of classifications that an operator would need a state license for and would merely constitute a duplication of regulation. But we will be extending the existing contractor licenses with the board's approval to June of 2023.
Great. Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Mann, for your comments on that. I'm glad you got your hair cut that day. I missed that appointment. Okay. Willie Joe, it's your turn.
Yes, I think with between the city and the county and the money that is coming in, that something could be put together very soon. Rainy season's coming, and we need to have some kind of emergency shelter, as I've said, for a long, long time. And I'm not just picking on Fort Myers, I'm picking on anywhere. Any community should have a place where people go, they contribute until they can get into affordable housing. Nobody should be sleeping on the street, sleeping at the library, sleeping at bus stops, whatever. So putting our heads together, brainstorming. I'm going to a meeting tonight that's at Mount Herman on housing and a rally. Let's all work together and let's get this. You got my phone number. You got other people's phone number that are advocates that have been here. We need housing. We need emergency until the housing is built. And we need it affordable. Nobody's asking it to be completely free. We need something that's going to get generated, rehabbing housing. There's a lot of people out of work in construction. So let's do it. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Dr. Joseph Simon. There he is. Okay. Hey, Joseph.
You're getting close, Mr. Chairman. It's Dr. Joseph Sanson, psychotherapist. As you know, I've been advocating for equal rights for the unmasked and unvaccinated. I want to just point out to you, as a matter of fact, COVID shots are experimental. As Dr. Robert Malone, one of the experts in Governor DeSantis and the Surgeon General's forum the other week, stated that none of the shots being distributed in the United States are licensed by the FDA. What's licensed is overseas. And my guess is the reason that is they're not going to distribute what's been approved in the United States until they can get a blanket immunity and try to get it into the scheduling with the children. As you know, there's just been massive fraud with these shots. The federal government has paid $1 billion to the media to create false narratives about these shots. I have a Swedish study here that came out in late February showing that your DNA actually gets changed by these shots. Okay, that's not a myth. That's an actual study. And as you know, everything I'm presenting you is data-based. I'm not just making this stuff up. I told you in February not to give those shots, to distribute the $250,000 for those mobile units for the children. And you did it anyway. You should have tabled that because the Florida Department of Health is now advising not to give these shots to children because the risk outweighs the potential benefit. And they're timid on the shots overall, but the data just keeps coming out. 61,000 excess deaths have been reported by the CDC in the last 6 months of 2021. That's more than the whole Vietnam War combined, and that's millennials, age 18 to 44. It coincides with the coercion of these shots across the country. Increasingly, this is looking like Enron, but you can't hide the bodies. And I'm just telling you, look, ineffective legal counsel, pretending you didn't know is not going to protect any of you. I provided you with over 1,000 studies about these side effects. If I gave you 1,000 studies saying that you're funding stuff that's contaminating the water, you wouldn't look the other way. And you need to really pause any further distribution of funds for these shots. You need to halt the money that you did for those mobile units for the children because you're harming children. Even the Florida Department of Health is saying that now. And you just need to cease and desist. The VAERS data shows 25,000 deaths, 45,000 permanent injuries from these shots. Only 1% get reported there. How many people have to die? How many people have to become permanently disabled for you to do the right thing here? This isn't even a political issue. This is just a basic human right. I'll admit it, I'm right of center. But this is a mainstream thing. Don't poison people. Leave the kids alone. I'm telling you right now, the first kid that drops dead on a soccer field from these shots, they're gonna come after you. And just stop. Don't do it. Just please listen to me. Listen, I've told you in early 2020 about the masks, about the lockdowns. The studies didn't back it up. I'm ahead of the curve on this. When this pendulum swings the other way, my God, 60% of the population has been given an experimental shot. And just briefly, Dr. Naomi Wolf just reported the other day that every lot has different ingredients in it. So each manufacturer is giving you shots with different levels of ingredients. Please listen, you're harming people. Thank you for your time.
Any other public comment at this time? I have no other cards. Okay, now we'll be adjourned. Thank you for your time.